Hello, everyone. Welcome to season 2 of DADennial. Wanted to give a little introduction to our new producer, and you might remember him from season 1. His name's Caesar, so he'll be in the background, assisting, helping out, making this even a better product. I want to give a little intro. Today, we started our first interview with Quest Green. He's the CEO and founder of The Greenhouse. He's a marriage and family coach. He does a lot of great work out in the Charlotte area. And you're going to be hearing his interview soon. And we're going to be also putting out some Instagram clips before so you guys can get a little understanding and seeing of what this season's going to be and why it's going to be different and what we're kind of adding to it from season 1. So I thought for intro, if you never know what to talk about, right? You feel like you never have an idea. So what do guys mostly talk about? So we have sports, hobbies, what are you watching, potpourri, how's the family or how's the kids. Mostly the only correct answer is either fine or good, and quoting best lines from a movie or TV show that you like. I feel like those are the standard guy conversations that you have in passing, or even something that you might have known for 20 plus years.
It's very surface level, that's for sure.
Playoffs, you got PGA Championship. I mean, it is a perfect time. And that lull of baseball when that starts from July through like the end of mowing season in September. Yeah. Landscaping, that could include mowing, mulching, flower beds, vegetable garden, something like that. So we'll just do landscaping. We'll add to this list too.
The plethora of suburban dads on Home Depot on Saturday mornings.
I mean, it is packed. What job? Maybe I thought of another one too, but maybe next week. Of what? I feel like my kids want to like set up a lemonade stand or set up like a bake shop outside. When the tag sale season. Like, what'd you get at a tag sale? Yeah. I've been one of those in years. It's all people's garbage.
People selling garbage, exactly.
All right, we're gonna spin a wheel, and we're gonna see which one we're gonna talk about this morning. There we go. And what do we land on today? Is it going to be sports, what to watch, hobbies, and it's going to be potpourri. All right, so it's either favorite store that you go into, favorite website. What's your go-to aisle in the grocery store? So we're going to do what's your favorite aisle in the grocery store. That's the one that comes up today.
I love that.
So
I love the grocery store. It's like
I do my grocery shopping as well, and I particularly pick a specific grocery store because of the routine, because where everything is. And if they mess up, like they have like the strawberry shortcake right now, right? This one really got me because they don't have the strawberries and like the little cakes like all in the same area. It's in like end caps. That one really threw me off last week. But my favorite aisle is always the ice cream aisle. Especially when they got ice cream on sale, or the summertime. I feel like you mix it up then, because wintertime it's that struggling of like it's too cold, so you really don't go down too often. But the summertime, you got like the ice cream sandwiches on sale. You got the cones, the different flavors of ice cream.
Yeah.
It's a great time of year. So I'm gonna go ice cream aisle for myself.
Now, for me, it's the potato chip aisle, and this is the time of year where they have all the limited time flavors, the Lay's Frito-Lay potato chips.
Decorative bags, yeah, the red, white, and blue. Yeah, the red, white, and blue bags, right? Little fireworks on it. That's true. Yeah.
And I'm like a potato chip fiend. Like I could down the bag, family size, like 10 minutes.
I think they got some new products too. I think I saw some new Pringle and Lay's. Yeah, they got the.
Yep.
They try out the test market there. See if Aunt Edith and Grandma there can handle the new poppable chips or something like that. I don't know. Come back in the fall.
That's my favorite potato chip aisle, and then followed by the cookies. The cookies. Mm-hmm. I got to figure out what's new with the Milano flavors. The Milano cookie Pepperidge Farm.
Mm-hmm.
That's my jam right there.
True. Yeah.
And then,
strawberry shortcake season. That's what I'm in right now. Not the cookies. That's more about the light, fluffy kind of cake kind of vibe.
Yeah.
That's where I'm at. But hey, on that note,
kind of have to play it off in the vegetables aisle because I want to pretend like I'm healthy. So I spend a little extra time over there just pacing, pretending that I'm actually doing a good thing.
You beat me to it. I wasn't going to say this to go to the vegetable aisle because me and broccoli have had a little riff since about '89, I think. When I first got stuck in one of broccoli got stuck in the back of my throat and tried to choke me out at a Ponderosa. But I digress. So I am another part two of what I want to kind of add is I'm going to go on a journey. That journey is not going to be going off a long walk off a short pier. It's going to be attempting to really lose weight, of trying to be a better fit dad. And I think a lot of us struggle with that, just maintaining weight or losing weight or just trying to stay fit or healthy or avoiding blood work altogether and finding out what we have. So I think this is where Instagram is going to actually come in handy for a man in his 40s, not for scoping out other things and prerogatives on Instagram. And I'm also going to have we're going to try to get out some people that do nutrition and wellness to try to help me on this journey and hopefully give everyone else too some tips and tricks. But keep a lookout for that. Go to our YouTube channel, DADennial. That's where you can, which are my two words I hate, but I have to say it, or or subscribe. Hopefully both. And so on this journey, we're going to kind of keep a daily, hopefully up to weekly kind of update, and also kind of do a check-in here weekly of not just a little dad conversation here, but of how are we doing and any tips and tricks that are working that are not, and maybe have some of these guests on. And we're also going to have some great guests throughout the season. We're already trying to line up a few. So please like and subscribe. Please go to Instagram. Please go to DADennial.com because there you can get some great swag. And I want to give away some shirts too because I have some extras. So if you go there and you put your information, like your name and size, I can email you and get your information to send you a shirt. And hopefully that you'll be a person that enjoys our show and gives positive feedback as well. So Caesar, anything else you want to add?
No, I'm looking forward to the second season. And if you're going on this journey, I'm proud to go along with you with your weight loss goals and healthy lifestyle.
It's got to start sometime because the potato chip aisle is taking me down.
Yeah.
First off, thank you for help producing this next season of the show, and you'd be a great attribute, and it's going to be a lot more fun and a lot more entertaining, and let's have a good time.
All right.
Hello and welcome to DADennial podcast here. This is now season 2, and I am so happy and excited to try some new things. We have now one of my good friends that you've heard probably a couple times on season 1, and he's now our producer and will help guide me in questions and make this thing even much smoother than season 1. But I'm very excited and happy to announce that our first guest for the season is none other than this guy, Quest Green. You say, who is he? Well, jquestgreen.com. He's the CEO and founder of The Greenhouse. He's a marriage coach. He does retreats. He has a podcast, Marriage Aid for SuckaZ. What else do you do? You tell me.
We do a lot of things. We do conferences. I do one-on-one coaching. I do group coaching. I have a community. I'm also doing a podcast with Michael, 3 other clinicians, an educator, and a pastor. It's called Unscripted, and it happens on Monday nights at 9 p.m. On Facebook. But we are about to switch our home to YouTube so we can get tight work like you guys. So yeah, we do a lot, man.
That's awesome. Definitely check that out on Monday nights for sure. Mm-hmm. So the reason I wanted you on here tonight, and Caesar, you had a lot to do with this too, but you being and doing all these things you do in marriage and family, and I being a clinical counselor too, I feel like we've seen a lot of different things and want to get your perspective on, I guess, first off of, men's issues. I think we hear a lot about loneliness. We hear a lot about men not making friends and having difficulty being isolated. I don't know what you've seen in your side of working with men and in relationships, of anything that you've seen or anything that you've kind of noticed that as being part of that problem, or things that maybe you've done that make it better, help out guys.
Yeah. I think for us as men, I think that the number one issue is vulnerability, right? I don't know, Michael, where you grew up, but I grew up in Brooklyn, New York, right? And it's not the most conducive place for you to be vulnerable, right?
Sure.
Depending on what areas and sections you grew up in, it could be particularly rough. I grew up in the Flatbush section of Brooklyn, and I do know that those environments, I'm not gonna, damn them all to hell, right? But some of those environments make it challenging to be vulnerable, if you will. And so even for those of us who haven't really grown up in those neighborhoods, right, you're sometimes told to take it on the chin, roll with the punches, never let them see you sweat, never cry, never, right, admit that you're wrong, right? If you're backed into a corner, you know what I'm saying, by your spouse, then don't say anything, right? And nobody really told us that the things that they told us not to do would be the things that we had to do once we got into marriage, right? You got to be vulnerable. And I'm not necessarily saying that you got to be vulnerable with everybody, but you got to be vulnerable with the person that you're doing life with and not around, right? I can do life around people, but it's something different when you're married to somebody and you're doing life with them. And I think that's one of the major issues, because that's the thing that holds up authentic, genuine communication, if you will, the kind of communication where you're filling in the gaps, right? And men are not what's the word that I'm looking for? I don't want to say well versed, but we haven't practiced because of that vulnerability. We haven't really practiced in those areas. So that's the kind of stuff that I come across in terms of men, right? And it's whatever the variation of the issue is, it's usually rooted in that. You know what I'm saying? Where, even in the situations where I'm not wrong, well, I'm afraid to say I'm wrong because I grew up like, if you wrong, then now I become a beating. You know what I'm saying? For any and everybody. So yeah, man, yeah, Michael, that's the kind of stuff that I come across though.
And I totally agree with you. I think two kind of points to that of that learned behavior. Maybe you're talking about where it's generational, right?
Yeah.
And that second piece of healthy relationships, of seeing a healthy spouse, he's seeing healthy mom, healthy dad, being in your life. Have you seen that? Have you seen now in this current generation, the last 10, 15 years, have you seen kind of that learned behavior changing for the better, or is it still kind of stagnant?
I do. It is because of man. Thanks to, you know what I'm saying, the God and the powers that be, that you do what you do, because people who operate in your place and space have now created I mean, we all know that therapy has been around for a long time, but depending where you come from, it's always been like this taboo topic. So it's still fairly new for some people, right? I'm currently in therapy now, right? And I'm in therapy for the purposes of maintenance, and truth be told, some areas that are still resident in me, right? Because of where I grew up and where I come from, one of the things my therapist shared with me the other day is that I'm still in survival mode. Like, she asked me some questions based upon how I was talking with her, right, Michael? And she was like, do you always sit do you ever sit with your back to the door? I'm like, never. When you and your wife go out, do you ever sit with your back to the door? And I was like, no. And she asked me a couple other questions, and I was like, oh, I don't do that. Definitely not that. She was like, when you go into a room, are you always aware of where the door is? And she would say, well, when you have conversations, are you scanning the room, like, to make sure you see who's who in the room? I was like, every time. She's like, you're still in survival mode. I was like, okay, I can agree with that. But she was like, is that a result of growing up where you grew up? And I was like, probably, I can agree with that. And then she whispered to me, like, you're not there anymore.
Yeah. That's the term I feel like I hear about is generational trauma, right? It's like that's what's been going on for, couple
Yeah.
generations down beyond, and that's it's kind of just so ingrained of looking around. Where's the door? Like playing that role, playing that part of what could happen, right?
And it's funny because sometimes when I'm dealing with my children, you see that survival mode manifested in many other ways. They didn't grow up where I grew up. They were never exposed. They've always lived in the suburbs, right? They've never seen what I've seen, but because I'm their father and I see them behave a particular way, because of that survival mode, we have a tendency sometimes to charge them to the mistake in addition to our past, right? And I have to let them grow and experience their experiences, good, bad, or indifferent, on their own, and be more of a God, like, hey, this is the first time you're doing this. And not because in the beginning, Mike, I promise you, I would scold, I would, talk with a little bit of aggression. Why? Because I was like, where I come from, that kind of stuff can get you unalive, right?
Yes.
I think that's the term I'm using now, right? And
that is one of the terms.
Yeah, and so for you, that's not necessarily the case because you're not in that environment. And then, like, for real, even in disagreements or challenging moments with my wife, I'll still see it show up again, right? Like I'm in survival mode, or your manhood is being challenged, when really it's not being challenged. It's just a different point of view to challenge the way you think in attempts to achieve a better outcome. And that's what I gotta look at, because when she's with me, she's not just my wife, she's my partner in all things. So if she's not going to tell me, then who's to tell me, right? And I don't ever want to be in a position where I got a blind spot and you didn't tell me about my blind spot, and then I end up losing somewhere else because the one person that was supposed to share it with me. But once again, it all starts with me, you know what I'm saying? So yeah.
Starts with you, I always find it as levels of awareness. And as you kind of grow and as you're doing that maintenance and continuing therapy, either in session or even for myself, just being a therapist, it's always in my mind it's always a journey, and always continuing to be aware in different levels, different ways, especially with kids. How many kids do you have, Quest?
I have 3. I have my daughter, who is 22. And she has a son out. I'm now a grandfather. I'm a newly, I just stepped into the realm of grandfatherhood, right? And then I have two young lions, one 12 and one 9, Nico and Mason. Caesar knows them very well. But yeah, 3 altogether.
So, with that age gap, what did you? I guess I'll ask, like, did you do anything differently, or what have you learned, in this process of awareness and learning more about yourself? It sounds like throughout the years and becoming this evolved person that I'm sure must have been very different, raising a daughter 22 years ago versus raising 2 sons right now, huh?
Yep, absolutely. My daughter's from my previous marriage, and so that was just different altogether. I know that there has been some growth. The first time I was married for 2 years, right? Different person. And it took me about 6 or 7 years before I considered marriage again. And then when Faith and I got married, I had already learned and did some I did the work per se, right? The soul work necessary to even entertain relationship again. And now we're walking into, this year makes 14, next month as a matter of fact, we're walking into 14 years of marriage.
Congrats.
Oh, appreciate it. I learned the difference in between the children as well. My daughter doesn't live, of course, in the home anymore, right? She lives in her own place now. But raising Nico and Mason, Nico's the 12-year-old and Mason is the 9-year-old. And my older boy, he's very decisive. Like, he knows what he wants to do and he'll go ahead and do it. He is a very dominant character, if you will, or personality. It's crazy because sometimes the things that he knows he'll get in trouble with, he'll weigh whether or not it's worth getting in trouble for, and he's like, yeah, I'll just take it and take the punishment. You know what I'm saying? Mason, not so much. He doesn't want the action. It's really what I'm learning too is that it's really interesting how two children can grow up in the same house under the same parenting and be two totally different children, right? Yes. Mason is the type of person that is, if he needs his time, he'll disappear and go get his, I think he's more like his mom, and I think that's why me and my oldest one bump heads a lot, because he's exactly like me. Right? Yep. Caesar's laughing.
Yes. I gotta mention this. Nico has a level of charisma that I've never seen in a kid before. Yeah. He's a special child in the fact that his personality is so infectious, and it's easy to like him. Mm-hmm. It's he has almost like an emotional intelligence about him, where he really understands where he's at, what he can get away with. He understands the level of humor he can get away with when his parents are looking, and when only dad is looking, and maybe mom's also looking. Now the humor is a little bit different. Like he has a very adept self-awareness.
I'll give you a joke. I'm working out at the gym at Planet Fitness here, and my neighbor from like 2-3 doors down, she was there, and she was like, I have to tell you this about your son. And I was like, what? I was like, he didn't do anything crazy, did he? She's like, no. She's like, I'm amazed by him. I said, why? He said, Miss Crystal, how are you today? And he was like, I see you walking, getting your exercise in, and you're looking good too. And I'm like, boy, that's a grown woman. she's grown to me. He was like, but how are you doing? She was like, Nico, I'm doing great. I can't complain. He was like, I'm really glad to hear that. Okay. And then he went off his way, and she was like, I was so amazed, because I would never expect out of a 12-year-old mouth to say, I'm really glad you're having a great day. You know what I'm saying? And he went back to playing. And so, you asked Mike, like, what are the differences that I'm seeing? Those are the kind of differences. He's a lot like me in terms of I'm a people person. I love to be in the company of good company. Caesar will tell you we go out to dinner a lot every now and then, at least once a quarter, just to eat and talk and fellowship, if you will. And Mason is kind of he follows his brother now, but I can tell that he leans more to the introvert side than he does to the extrovert. So yeah, those are the differences. And sometimes it's difficult to maintain in between the two, but we make it happen. Yeah.
Is there one, I know it's always tough to put pin down to like one thing, but being now a parent for so long and having all these having a daughter and 2 boys, different personalities, and your growth yourself. Yeah. Is there one thing or something that you can kind of pinpoint of, I grew, or like my parenting skill has changed because of, this is what I do, this is how I manage it, or how I deal with frustration, or deal with just the day-to-day, or how you have evolved overall as a parent? Is there like one thing that you've been taught or can think of?
I come from a West Indian household, right? So there's not a lot that I could do. My parents would tear my tail for some of the stuff that these kids do now. And I know I've definitely evolved, because I can't remember when last I ever used, like I would get the belt. This, and I know some parents are kind of like, oh my goodness, right? I have not done that. I can't tell you when last I've ever done that as a parent. I can't even tell you the first time that I spanked Nico or Mason. It's been punishment. It's been conversations. Nico is quick to tell a lie to me. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. And over the years, I've just restricted him from the things that he loves. And then after I've calmed down and kind of blew the steam off, I'll come back and we'll have a conversation about, listen, this thing that you're doing in terms of telling an untruth is going to serve you negatively when you get older. You don't ever want to be in a position where, these are the conversations we're having. You don't want to be in a position where people don't trust you, right? It's a bad place to be. And so he's a relationship oriented person like me. So he doesn't want to destroy the connection between the two of us, because I kind of withdraw a little bit because of my frustration and maybe my anger a little bit. And I'm even getting better in those areas too, because I don't want you to feel like you did this bad thing so we don't have relationship. I
Right.
want you to understand we still have relationship. I'm disappointed, but we still have relationship.
Yeah,
Is
that's very
you with-
important to go back to that. Yeah, of like telling
Yeah.
them that, hey, we can have disagreements. I'm disappointed. We're gonna be angry.
Yeah.
We live with each other, but I love you, right? It's always
Yeah.
important. I always
Yeah.
find at the end of the day of like, hey, we may have had a rough day, but at the end of the day, I love you. You're the world to me.
Yeah.
You know, just so you know, just so you don't have that
Yeah.
question of, man, Dad was really mad at me earlier.
Yep.
But
Yep.
just so you know.
Is your withdrawal quest is it like a strategic move as a father, or is it or is it a or you just need the space?
It depends on how deep I'm burned by the thing that he did. I'm leaning more to it now being a strategic thing, right? Because I want him to take an opportunity to feel that feeling that you feel, like that tension that you feel when you, like for real, when you're being offensive, because when he's ready, he can be really offensive, right? And so I want him to feel the tension that he feels. There's been a couple of times where I've had to get really stern with him and be like, listen, you get into the place where I might have to put some hands on you, right? I don't want to have to do that. So there's been a couple of times where, this is the line, you cross the line. All of us know as men, there's a thing that we do with just men and with men amongst men. We move by the code of respect, right? If there's one thing that we cannot live life without, it's respect. I refuse to, and even my wife knows, like, we can have disagreements, we can have challenges. The minute that this becomes disrespectful, that's a deal breaker for me. Right. Yeah. And so once or twice he's had to see the wrath, and he was, he's like, oh, wow. And then I'll come back later on and explain to him, not only is respect a thing here in the house with me, just as a father raising a man child, right? When you move out in the world, other men move by respect. And if you disrespect a man, you might have to guard your grill and knuckle up, right? Because it's that deep, it's that intense, it's that important. So yeah.
No, it's difficult. I guess I was going to ask, do you see, and this is where my question comes from, of as I've worked with families myself and seen I think one difficulty that dads, but parents in general, have nowadays as a difficulty is what you're describing, of taking that past, right, and trying to move forward from that, but so many people not having the ability to either go to therapy or create that awareness, that then they become friends, right? That friend zone that you have with your kids, because like, I don't want to do that as my parents did to me, but I don't know what parenting is nowadays. So in your brain, it just goes to well, I know how to be a friend. I know how to be a good friend to people. So and that's, I don't know if you've seen anything like that as well, parenting, or just seeing when you're coaching and working with families of, with difficulties. I'm sure you've seen.
Yeah. I do. Once again, like in my household when I was growing up, they lived by the creed: the children are to be seen and not heard. You know what I'm saying? Like, if adults were having a conversation, you dare not open your mouth, and like, that's just like, and even now to some extent, I do it with my children. I don't live by the creed, children are to be seen and not heard. I want my children to know there is a place and space for you to be heard, and for you to, for you to express feelings that are going to be considered, right? I don't subscribe to that. I think a lot of the stuff that we grew up with in terms of that creed, like, left us scarred in a way, because we were experiencing things and going through things. And if we opened up our mouth at the wrong time, it could be deemed as disrespectful, and it didn't have anything to do with necessary disrespect. We were just feeling a thing, and we didn't know how to, properly express it. And I give my children the room to do that, but there is a time and place and space for everything under the sun, right? And so there's those times to do that, but I try my best to teach them, when you hear adults speaking, I don't care how light the conversation is, don't get involved in those conversations because they're too young. Mike, as a clinician, that brain doesn't develop until the age of 25, so they don't have the proper tools to determine between what's a conversation I should be in and what's a conversation I shouldn't be in. And so it's just best to not do that. And then when time is for you to have a conversation with your adult, or, then you take advantage of that time. And the reason why is because I've watched too many children grow up with a sense of entitlement because we didn't parent. I think the guy's name is Andy Stanley, and he was talking about the stages of development, if I remember correctly. And 0 through 5, like there's a teaching stage, there's a disciplining stage, there's a coaching stage, and then after the age of 18, you're pretty much just coaching for the rest of your life. But it's around 18 or 21 that we can start being friends now. Right. Because if we do that, I think some parents messed up because they took the friend stage and put it in the disciplining stage. They put the teaching stage in the coaching stage. Like there's a lot. And then the children are confused as to what can I do? What can I not do? And I know sometimes as parents, let me say it low, my wife can get into her feelings because she's a very nurturing woman. Oh, they were just trying. No. That's when the fathers have to step in and be like, yeah, if you want him to properly develop, then we got to take them through these stages. So yeah,
you have to find your kind of zones and ability to parent. Right after 18, when they're grown, whether in college or whatever they're doing, that's when that shift should start. But I tell people, you should feel that sense for yourself as a parent of, okay, I did everything I can do, right? Like, this is on me now. If anything, if they didn't learn, that's me from the parenting. But I can't change anything now. It's it's putting the time and the effort in now. I was going to just add. Yeah, I was just going to add I thought of when I was back in school for psychology, that when we were talking about kind of like spanking and being physical with kids, that it was one quote that kind of stuck with me, and it always sticks with me every day when I'm with my kids, where sometimes it'll get to the point of I will tell them if you did this to grandpa, it's having my own kind of moment there for a second, but then I kind of have this moment because this quote of, think about it, do you remember why you got spanked? No, the chances are you just know how it hurt. You just knew of like, oh, if they get the belt, or oh, dad's coming home, or oh, mom's, whatever. You just remember that. That's where the trauma is of, like, oh, I don't, because if you think about it, you might even remember something that you did, but like, did it change? Is it like, did you stop doing that? No, probably not. It's more of that fear factor, right? Of like, you're not teaching or giving that tool of, this is what you did wrong. And you had to go, be in timeout or whatever the case was, or be removed from the situation but just always keeping that is an important thing. I always tell people.
It's funny. I'm there, right there with you, because sometimes we can get really flooded, and our anger can really redline. One of the things, or the safeguards that I've put in place, is that if I ever have to spank, 3, 5, 7.
What's that?
Those are the number of times that you're going to get a lash, if I got it, depending on how intense the thing is that you did. Because sometimes your anger can be so great, it changes into something else other than just a disciplining, right? 3, 5, 7. So if it's 3 lashes, okay, with 3 and then we're done, right? Or 5 and then we're done, or 7 and we're done. If I have to hit you more than that, then there's something else going on, right? And I'm thankful that, my wife has been on my head because about, there's more than one way. And we used to bump heads a lot over that. But if I ever had to, even for 3, I would let them, of course, cry, do whatever they need to do, have their dignity, go to your room. But then I'd have to come back and have a conversation. It is not my desire to ever have to move to the place where I got to put hands on you. That's not my desire. However, I want you to understand the impact or the implications of this particular act that you committed. We can't allow that to happen. If there's ever unacceptable behavior, that would be it. And this would be the consequences for it. Let me reiterate, I love you. I adore you. You're a wonderful individual. You had a lapse or something that caused you to do this thing. Let's continue to have some conversations about what that is so that we can make sure that this doesn't happen again. And this is kind of the reason, Mike, the reason why I tell him, like, don't ever lie to me. We can work through whatever we need to work through as it relates to the offense. But when you lie, it doesn't give me room to work with you because I don't know if you're telling the truth or not. Right. And so, yeah.
You had me at wonderful person. I thought you were talking to me for a second. Very nice.
You are a wonderful person. Let me just remind you. You're a wonderful person.
Lasers. That's what it is. I appreciate that. I appreciate your insight and your knowledge. At this time, I want to take a little break there and take a, sometimes and then take a 3-second break here and just kind of get back into a new topic. So this is where we do. So I'll give you the background here for a second here, Quest.
Okay.
So let it out now, and I created this little lion. Came out over COVID, where I would see different groups, and it was a women's group actually, and I saw there was a clinician that I knew that was on a news network, and was having these kind of things for women to get together and let out all their just scream and yell, just all their frustration. I was like, well, guys have that too over COVID. We're stuck inside. So that kind of made me think of, let's let it out now, kind of find a roar, find a place to say what's on your mind. So that's where that came from, and trying to teach Ben.
I'm going to try it tomorrow.
It's okay, right? So even if it is just a roar in your car before you go in, it does feel just you're letting it out. So I say all this and thinking of for yourself. It doesn't have to be positive, negative. It can be however whatever's on your mind. Is there a let it out now that you would like to share on the podcast tonight?
A let it out now. A thing that would just make you go roar. What I would say is my let it out right now is when people get involved in relationships before they develop themselves as individuals. That would be my let it out now. That's the one thing that it irks me. So you walk into this relationship broken, expecting this person to fulfill all the needs that you don't even know that you have for yourself. You don't even know what you want for yourself, but you put the expectations on them to know what you want and need, right? Without communication, and then mad when they don't fulfill the expectation that you have, right? And then when you break up, you leave all of this collateral damage behind, and you hold them hostage to who you think they are based upon you didn't even know who you are. You know what I'm saying? So I think that's the thing I want to let out right now is that, like, for real, there's a thing called develop mentally, spiritually, emotionally, physically, if need be, and a couple of other leads as well. But be the very best version of yourself that you possibly can be before you entertain bringing somebody else into relationship with you. Yep. I think that would be my let it out.
I feel like that's coming from a place. I feel like are you seeing a lot of that?
Oh man, I see it. If you ask me, I think that's the thing that's become a part of the culture now as far as relationships are concerned. Everybody's walking into relationship expecting to be served. But when I check the true fabric of what relationship is and how it was created, right? I think it should be along the lines of, I'm in your life and your life should be better simply because I'm in it. And I'm not saying that from a cocky place, like I'm in your life and you should adore the fact that I'm in your life. No, right. I'm serving you so well that your life has gone to another level simply because I'm serving in your life.
So you're seeing that in more younger relationships right now?
Yeah, I'm seeing the opposite of that, really. Like I'm seeing a lot of she has to look like this, and I want an old-fashioned wife. Like, really? Do you really want an old? Do you know what that entails? Right? And then when you get it, you understand that you really don't want an old-fashioned wife. You just want a wife that looks good, that cooks well, that's, you know what I'm saying, bananas in the bed. But the minute that she opens her mouth and expresses, then you don't want to have any, like, they're not robots, bro. Right. And so if you're not in a place and space to properly entertain conversation and understand that, okay, her point of view may be a little bit different than mine, but let's have some conversation and let's fill in the gaps while we're talking so we can find out if what you need and what I need can be met in this particular, you know what I'm saying, coming together. And if it can't, it's okay if it can't. Like, there's no reason for me to hate you or you to hate me. We're just not compatible. You know what I mean? But I'm seeing a lot of these, you know, IG posts, Facegram posts, where it's all about I'm this and I'm that, and this is what you need to do in order to be with me, right? But it's never usually about diving deep on who that other person is. Who are you? What are your needs? I know what I need already. I'm interested in knowing more about you. You know what I'm saying? So yeah,
it's the social media. You hit the nail on the head there of the posts, and also just the dating in general, right? Of like, you're just swiping, right? That's where you're meeting people. You already have, like, you're just looking at an image. You're not getting to know someone right away. You're just basing it on of like, oh, that person looks like someone that, you know, and then they're just right there, just checking boxes of, you know, I like puppies and walks. And you see me of like, he doesn't have a puppy, and you know he doesn't walk. So it just, you know, it's just, it's never true. It's a different world out there for sure.
Yes, sir.
Appreciate your insight on that. I'll give you quickly let it out now. I try to write one up here quickly. Mine was kind of like based on our first question there too, of men's issues. So it is true what they say in terms of guys don't make friends in their 40s, and as a guy in his mid 40s now, it is hard, you know, as much as like I've moved around and had friends in different generations and different places that I've lived. It is, you know, you can try, and it's that thing of, you almost think of like, well, we're on the same page here, right? Our kids do this together, so, you know, if I invite you out, or, you know, try to just talk to you, or just, you know, have a conversation of, and you get nothing back, right? Or you get like, no, they don't want to hang out. And it's just that thing of like, man, you know, it is tough, right? You think people are more on the same level, same plane, and you know, it's hard, right? Not just the 40s, but people of all ages, I feel like it's a challenge, it's difficulty. But for myself and for others out there listening, of, you know, just keep trying, right? You know what you like, who you are, and, you know, have friends and have support, and that's, you know, you continue to grow and learn.
That's a big let it out. I think it goes back to the whole vulnerability thing. Right. You know what I'm saying? Like, just recently, over the last couple of years, men are saying to one another, "Love you, bro." Like, that was not something that we would normally do as men. And I think it's moving in a pretty good direction. And as a matter of fact, a dap would be a dap, and you would kind of just, and then, you know, right now it's a full-on hug. And those are the things that I appreciate now, because that lets me know that men are kind of evolving into this place of being a little bit more vulnerable. And I think it's funny. I'm reading this book by a gentleman by the name of Darius Daniels called Relational Intelligence. So you have EQ, you have IQ, but now there's RQ, right? And that thing that you're talking about in terms of finding friends, there's some people who are friends who are going to rock with you, who are going to push you to your purpose, and then some other people who are associates. And I think the reason why we run into problems sometimes is because we have a problem differentiating between who's an associate and who's a real friend. You know what I'm saying? What's that thing they say? Reason, season, and lifetime. That people come into your life, and sometimes we put the reason people in the season, and the season people in the lifetime, and then wonder why we're so pissed off. You know what I'm saying? So that's a big let it out though, Mike.
Yeah, no, it's just that honesty. It's just, I think you hit the nail on the head there of vulnerability, right? Of I'm comfortable, I'm okay being vulnerable, putting myself out there. It's that what you're describing, what we're describing here, of some people have evolved to that place of, right, showing emotions, being more genuine, being vulnerable, and understanding of, you know, just wanting to understand of like, oh yeah, let's go hang out, let's just go talk, or people that are just kind of stuck of that's who they've always been, of that can kind of I don't know what the right term is, but just kind of turn off a guy, right? Of like, oh, he's vulnerable, like, but he's like seems desperate of wanting to hang out or wants to, and then getting to a place of, I am who I am, and hey, that's okay. You just keep moving on. But it is that trap in between, right? Of some are one direction, some are the other, and I think as we get older, right, the people that have kind of grown, gotten long, have kind of evolved to this place now of being supported and loved, and can show emotions and be who they are. I mean,
we're not robots, right? Men are not robots. We got feelings too,
No, there's one thing I do with a friend of mine that I've had for a long time, and we were watching. I can't recall the show, but it was just in terms of about life, and the end of this was, you don't know how many times, like, you don't know that last time that you'll be playing with your friends in the playground. You don't know that last time you were playing baseball or whatever, but you knew it happened, right? And you don't know that last time you're going to be playing golf with a friend or having a beer or whatever. So appreciate that, right? At the end of that time that you are out together of, hey, hopefully there's 100 more times we get to do this. But if this is the last time, right, you're saying of, I love you, appreciate you. Hopefully, we'll do this again soon, right? Just having that perspective, I think, is a big ideal of like growth and movement forward.
Yeah, man.
I'm curious. So, how did you get into marriage and coaching and getting to where you are now? Like, how did this all begin for you?
I'll be honest with you. This was never. I think it chose me. I didn't choose it. I am I'm a person of faith, right? And when I was going to school, I think it had a lot to do with when I experienced divorce, right? It was one of the most, and this is a woman that I believe that I probably shouldn't have been with, but even then it had a heavy and profound effect on how I developed past that difficulty. I personally believe that my divorce probably lasted about 16 years until I got custody of my daughter, or I shouldn't even say that. She ended up coming to live with me because it was me that she wanted to live with. She just realized some things. And then I was in school for computer information systems. And midway through, I got my associates at Georgia Perimeter College, which is now Georgia State. And when I went to come and finish off in, my undergrad journey, I ended up coming here, getting married and moving here to North Carolina in 2011. And I didn't waste any time. I immediately went to University of North Carolina, Charlotte. And it was midway through that journey that I switched from CIS to communications, specializing in interpersonal communications, right? Because I was going through the route of mass media. I'm a people person. I was like, all right, God, DJ it is. You know what I'm saying? On the radio it is. But I started taking these courses like psychology, interpersonal communication, a number of different courses. You know all the courses, right, that you take, especially when you move into where you are. And when it was all over and said and done, I had a couple of people come to me close that were experiencing difficulties, and I helped them navigate through it. One thing led to another. And a good friend of mine, I'm not sure if you're familiar with Eric Thomas. He's a motivational speaker. He's the dude who says, when you want to succeed as bad as you want to breathe, then you'll be successful, right? He brought me on to run, I'll be the director for one of his departments. He used to do these series called Thank God It's Monday, TGIM. So he did the same thing for marriage and called it Thank God It's Marriage, right? And he took me all over the country, and I was doing these marital conferences, and By this time, I had already read books and learned real life lessons on not just what to do and not to do in terms of marriage, but who I was as an individual, and really turning inside and doing the inside work. One thing led to another. I ended up becoming a professional certified marriage coach. Went back to school, took some more courses, and then boom, here we are. You know what I'm saying? In short, that's how we got here. One thing led to another. Started a company. When I was doing what I was doing for him, he showed me actually how to run a company, because he was running Eric Thomas and Associates, and we were learning how to, while we were there was so many different things that we were learning in terms of the business side of things. Taught me how to do that, and was like, you don't ever want to do this, for you want to have your own. So I'm going to teach you how to get an LLC, run through the process. That was in 2019. Here we are.
That's great. Beautiful story. I love it. And
yeah, man.
Talking about interpersonal communication, that was my undergrad too. I think that I feel like it teaches a lot, and always kind of was in my brain. I didn't go back to psychology until I was 30. I kind of had a 8-9 year gap of failing upwards in life is one term that I've used, and then I went back, and I've been doing this for 15 years now. And I think it's great. It's not a loss if you learn, right? No, I think it kind of teaches you both, because a lot of people just go straight from the psychology undergraduate to graduate school and don't live life, right? Or make mistakes. Kind of see the difference of life with psychology and life without, and knowing firsthand of it's a world of difference when you're mentally healthy and you're aware and you know what's going on, and you feel more confident in your mind. It's not just the physical body that you're working on and trying to keep a six-pack. It's your brain too, right? You don't want to let that get couched, Starts from the top.
Yes, sir. I'm trying to get my six-pack now. It's not letting me be great though.
I'm curious. I got a couple more questions.
Sure.
One here. So in all these years, and the 2 marriages now, is there any, I guess maybe there's a better term, but tips or tricks that you have pointed out in your mind of, oh, this is better doing this, or what you kind of preach or tell people to do in coaching, or advise them, kind of thing?
I think that it always goes back to it's crazy. When I would coach premarital, right, on, before they get married, I would tell them, vet the person out, front to back, side to side, find out what family they come from, find out about, vet them out, right? Ask all the questions that you need to ask. And that was the young coach in me. I think the sage coach in me now is not vet them out. It's more vet yourself out. Ask yourself all the necessary questions. Who are you in this season of life? Are you happy with who you are as an individual? Because the truth of the matter is, if you're not happy with yourself, how in heaven's name can you be happy with somebody else? You know what I mean? Like,
right. Or are there anything? Make them happy.
Yeah. Because and that's the thing, right, Mike? If I'm happy with me, then it's not going to be a problem, making someone else happy. If my cup is full, then that means I can pour into your cup, but I can't pour into your cup from something I don't have. I can't give you what I don't have, right? And so those are the things that I'm learning in this season. How can I become the best version of me? People laugh when I say my wife's name is Faith. People laugh when I say I'm on my 3rd or 4th marriage with Faith. And they're like, what? How many times did y'all get divorced and remarried? Like, it's not that we got divorced and remarried. It's just that we're changing and evolving through the seasons. And who I married is not the person I'm married to. Right.
Yeah. No, that's a great way
Yep. And it's so, as you navigate through this stuff, like as she's growing and evolving, I have to grow and evolve too. I can't remain the same person. If I do, it's going to be a mess. Right. And so, I think it's whenever we get into difficulties and challenges now in this season, I'm always asking myself, well, what role are you playing in this? Because it's not just her. You know what I'm saying? Even if it was just her, your response to her is not making the situation better. How can we make it better? How can you be the best version of you? Hence the reason why therapy is such a thing for me, because it's like I look at therapy like how you drive your car, right?
Mhm.
You drive your car and you change your oil every 3,000 to 5,000 miles, right? If you
Right.
don't change that oil, viscosity is going to build up in that engine, and before long, you're going to need a new engine or a new car altogether, right? And so my therapy serves as my maintenance, because the life in and of itself has a adverse way of impacting you and your mental health. And if you let it do it for too long, and like I said before, us as men, we're not vulnerable sometimes the way we should be. We build up, and the pressure builds up, builds up, builds up. And you know what pressure does to a pipe? It's the same
Yep.
thing with us.
What?
So yeah.
My last kind of question here is,
Mhm.
I love seeing how you've evolved and how you've grown, and seeing all these different versions. I think that's awesome and amazing to hear and say. I like that way of phrasing it, of that you've been married 4 times, because you're right. It is, marriage is not the same from day 1 to day 100 to day 500 and beyond, right? It's ever changing, it's ever kind of growing, and if you're not growing together, you're growing apart.
That's
one
smart.
thing yes. Where do you see yourself then in this continued growth, and whether for yourself or for your business, or where do you see you're kind of growing into next? If there's any thoughts or ideas?
I don't know if I have any thoughts about where I'm going to next. I just know that my business is going to grow, my marriage is going to grow, and every other thing that's attached to me is going to grow as long as I grow. Right?
Very
There's a
well put.
saying that one of the things I think my mentor taught me was that no organization rises above its leadership. Right?
Mhm.
If the company grows, it's going to be because the leadership grew.
Mhm.
Right? And that's the way that I feel with everything else that's attached to me. My finances are different in this season. My relationships are different in this season. My business is different in this season. Why? And that's different in a good way. Why? Because I grew as an individual, right? And I know that I've grown because I hear it from, it's not according to my standard. I hear from my wife that I've grown. You're not the same individual. You don't do this. Now, there's a couple of other areas that she's be like, listen, bro, this area needs work. You know what I'm saying? If anybody's going to tell you, the wife is going to be the one to tell you. And then it's an added bonus when people who are friends or associates say, hey, you don't operate the same way anymore. Right? Like there's something different about you and it's better. Or some friends can point it out. And when they do, that feels good, because that lets you know that the work that you were doing, because sometimes when you're doing the actual work, like I'm in the gym now, Mike, and I've been in the gym for the last, I don't know how many months, and I'm really eating different, trying to work, you know what I'm saying? And when my friends say like, yo, what's going on? Your back and your chest. And I'm like, okay, good. That means, because I can't see it. I'm with me every day. So I don't see the change taking place. I'm mad sometimes because I'm like, man, the gain should be more than this. You know what I'm saying? And then when the friends see, they're like, yo, bro, I don't know what you're doing, but you're doing it. And so that's always listen.
It's good.
Great advice. I appreciate that immensely.
Yeah, man.
I will kind of say here at the end here of, that's great that you're kind of changing your diet and seeing these results. I got to ask you one question here.
Yeah.
And that's our new little segment. It's what you snacking on. So whether it's, a cheat day now, I guess, for you more than anything, or if it's late night snack, or if the wife and kids are away, is there like a go-to or something of like, I got to order this, I got to get this?
Okay.
Go ahead. What you got?
I got one. So for the week, I'm usually trying my best to eat healthy, right? I'll eat maybe about 200 grams of meat, and then broccoli. Caesar and I went out to lunch at Outback a couple weeks back, and we just had meat and vegetables. That's it, right? We were trying to eat right. But if there's one thing that I will cheat on every week. It's a ritual. My wife says, I don't know how you eat there. It's the Waffle House. That place is, I love that place.
What's the order? What's the order at the Waffle House?
The order is a cheese omelet with hash browns, a T-bone steak, sometimes the Monte Cristo, like, you know what I said? A little A1 sauce, right? A raisin toast, because after you eat the one part of the cheese omelet with the waffle, I don't know what it is, but the butter and the sauce and the syrup at Waffle House is to die for, right? I know some people like, he has lost his wig. I love that place. So it's a waffle, right? Sometimes a blueberry if I'm feeling a little risque. You know what I'm saying? A waffle or a blueberry waffle, cheese omelet, hash browns, Monte Cristo steak. You know what I'm saying? Okay. And a little A1 to drizzle over the steak. Yeah.
So you do have the waffle.
And a coffee with cream. Yeah.
Gotta have that.
Yeah, gotta have that.
This sounds like a sweatpants day to me, but it's that is
either that or a drawstring.
Drawstrings, you're gonna get snapped.
Yeah, that's it. That's the one. But if I'm doing it during the week and I want to snack healthy, then it's probably like vanilla yogurt and like granola and blueberries. That would be that for during the week. But every Sunday, maybe not this Sunday because it's Mother's Day, she'll kill me. But that's
why you had to throw in the yogurt. I got you.
Yeah, I got to throw in the yogurt. I think we might be at First Watch or something like that. That's where she likes to go.
That's where the healthy stuff is.
Oh yeah, man, Waffle House is the spot for the kid.
Very good.
That is a great one.
Yeah.
So, thank you, Quest Green. I appreciate you coming on to be the first guest here.
Man, I'm coming up and to be the inaugural guest on season 2, man. So I appreciate it.
So please go to jquestgreen.com. Mm-hmm. Check out his weekly podcast, Marriage Ain't for Suckers. Right?
Mm-hmm. Right? Yes, sir. Okay. Yes, sir. Or if they want to look me up on IG, they can look me up at what's that? Quest_Green on IG or at Facebook at Quest Green. So yeah.
And you're also the CEO and founder of the Greenhouse. You want to talk about that?
Yep.
What is the Greenhouse?
The Greenhouse is basically a marriage community where we help marriages thrive and grow. We help them through difficulties and challenges, and we have community meetings where we come and have discussions on topics that we're facing in terms of marriage and practical ways to actually work through them and not just survive as a marriage, but actually thrive.
Is this like kind of just rolling? There's no like course of 6 weeks. It's just people can sign up and.
Yes, it's a community is what it is. So yeah, we're working on courses right now called Connect for singles, which is going to be probably about a 12-week course where we take you through, who you are, what you want to build. The pillars of the company are foundation, love, lifestyle, and legacy. Foundation being who you are as an individual, right? Because that's the foundation to every relationship. And then the love that we build together as a couple, the lifestyle we create around that love, and then the legacy that we pass on, not only to our children, but others who, use us as a reference point. So yeah.
Nice. That's great. Thank you very much. I appreciate your time. I appreciate all your insight. Thank you very much, Quest. Thank you very much, Caesar, for being my producer here and keeping me in line. So I appreciate everyone. And stay tuned for the next episode. Thank you.
No doubt. Thank you, man. Blessings.
I just want to thank Quest Green again for coming into the DADennial podcast. I wanted to plug his podcast, Marriage Ain't for Suckas. He's also a marriage and family coach. He's also a CEO and founder of the Greenhouse. And he had some great information, had some great stories to tell. I think also aligns with what I'm kind of working on personally. I think one thing he was talking about, and my producer Caesar was mentioning as well, of eating well, right? Of like feeling good about yourself, feeling good when you eat and what you eat. And that's a journey I'm going to start going on as well, and I think that's some good information for guys, right? Of knowing the struggle and knowing how difficult. And we had our new segment of what you're snacking on, that when he doesn't eat well, that he goes full ham at the Waffle House. So I just want to thank him again for coming out, and go to the DADennial podcast page there, DADennial.com, and you can go to the links from there to go to your favorite place to listen to the podcast, Spotify, Apple, you name it, it's there. And also go to YouTube, find the DADennial page. Please like and subscribe, and go leave some good comments, and hopefully we will have some more good guests, and you're going to hear more about my journey of losing weight, and maybe we'll be back in touch with Quest Green at some point and talk more about food and fitness, and also being a great dad. Thank you, Quest.